Listen to me closely, because what I am about to tell you is going to contradict every lie society has fed you since you were in grade school. You look around and you see it. You feel it. A massive, silent demographic of men who are completely checked out of the dating market. We are not talking about the guys who cannot function in society. We are talking about engineers, tradesmen, accountants, men who keep the lights on and the infrastructure running. They are single. They have been single for years, and they are likely going to stay single. The mainstream narrative wants to tell you that these men are broken. They say you need to go to therapy, you need to be more vulnerable, you need to step up. That is absolute garbage. The reason so many men are single for years is not because men have failed. It is because the market has been rigged against them, and the primary architects of this disaster are the very women complaining that they cannot find a good man. To understand this, you have to look at relationships strictly as a marketplace. This is economics. Supply and demand. Value exchange. For thousands of years, the exchange was relatively balanced. Men provided security and resources. Women provided fertility, loyalty, and family structure. But in the modern era, the female imperative has shifted into a state of hyper-delusion. We call this the inflation of sexual market value. Thanks to dating apps and social media, an average woman with average looks and average prospects receives the attention level of a celebrity. She opens her phone and has hundreds of likes, hundreds of messages, hundreds of hits of dopamine telling her she is a prize. This artificial inflation destroys her ability to accurately assess her own market value. She believes she is a 10 because 100 thirsty guys in her DMs are treating her like one. So, when you, the average hard-working man, approach her with a realistic offer of a stable relationship, she looks at you with disdain. To her, you are invisible. You are not competing with other men in your city. You are competing with the digital phantom of a top-tier man she believes she deserves. This is why men stay single. It is not a lack of effort. It is a refusal to play a game where the buy-in cost is your dignity and the payout is a liability. Men are rational creatures. We calculate return on investment. When you look at the modern dating landscape, the ROI is negative. You are expected to court, to pay, to entertain, and to provide essentially the lifestyle of a princess to a woman who brings nothing to the table but entitlement and a smartphone addiction. Women have weaponized their hypergamy. Hypergamy is the instinct to date up, to find the best possible genetic and resource provision. In the wild, this ensured survival. In the modern world, it ensures male isolation. Women would rather share a high-value man who treats them like an option than build a life with a faithful man who treats them like a priority. They are waiting at the finish line. They want the man who is already rich, already fit, already successful. They have zero interest in the man who is in the process of building that success. They despise the struggle. And because most men are in the building phase during their 20s and early 30s, these men remain invisible. You are ghosted not because you are a bad person, but because you do not meet an impossible standard set by a culture that tells women they are queens just for existing. Let's talk about the specific trajectory that leads to this stalemate. We have to address the elephant in the room that mainstream media refuses to touch: the allocation of prime fertility years. From age 18 to roughly 28, a woman is at her peak market value. She holds all the cards. This is when she has the highest leverage. And how does the modern woman spend this leverage? Does she invest it in finding a building partner? Does she look for a man with potential to grow with? No. She spends a decade riding the carousel. She chases the top percent of men, the bad boys, the wealthy players, the guys with options. She gives her youth, her beauty, and her best energy to men who have absolutely no intention of committing to her. She is renting space in a penthouse, delusional enough to think she owns the building. This creates a psychological phenomenon known as alpha widowhood. She imprints on these high-status men. She experiences the thrill of a lifestyle she didn't earn and sexual chemistry with men who are genetically superior but relationship avoidant. She gets used to the highs. But biology is ruthless. The wall is undefeated. As she approaches 30, the attention starts to dry up. The high-value men trade her in for a younger model because men value youth and fertility, not career accomplishments or boss babe attitudes. Suddenly, the silence gets loud. The clock starts ticking, and this is the moment she decides she is ready to settle down. Notice the language. Settle. She isn't looking for a partner. She is looking for a bailout. She is looking for a safety net. This is where you, the reliable, invisible man, suddenly pop up on her radar. But here's the problem. You have been watching. You have seen her ignore you for a decade while she gave it up for free to guys who treated her like trash. Now she comes to you with baggage, trauma, debt, and a damaged ability to pair bond. She expects you to wife her up, to provide the ring and the house, effectively paying top dollar for a depreciated asset. And men are simply saying no. Why should a man work 60 hours a week to provide a lifestyle for a woman who looks at him and sees a walking ATM? Deep down, she resents you because you are not the alpha she couldn't lock down. You are the consolation prize. This is cognitive dissonance at its finest. She feels entitled to a good man, but she lacks the purity and the cooperative spirit that a good man actually wants. Men are not afraid of commitment. Men are afraid of a bad deal. And marrying a modern woman who has spent her best years partying is the worst trade deal in the history of trade deals. You get the leftovers. You get the attitude. You get the, I don't need no man feminism until the bill comes. And don't let them gaslight you into thinking you are insecure for caring about her past. The past is the only reliable predictor of the future. If she has a history of monkey branching, of leaving men when times get tough, or of seeking validation from strangers, that behavior does not magically disappear just because you put a ring on it. It goes dormant. It waits. Men are staying single because the risk of bringing this chaos into their lives outweighs the benefit of regular intimacy. We have entered an era of male self-preservation. It is a strike. It is a walkout. Now let's escalate this to the level of legal reality, because this is where the game turns from difficult to downright fatal. If the emotional baggage and the entitled attitude were the only problems, some men might still take the risk. But men are staying single because they have watched the generation before them get absolutely slaughtered in the divorce courts. The modern marriage contract is the only contract in existence where one party is incentivized to break it. In business, if you breach a contract, you pay a penalty. In marriage, if a woman gets bored or feels unhappy or simply decides the grass looks greener elsewhere, she files for divorce and she gets rewarded with cash and prizes. Look at the statistics.
Can't believe it!
Women initiate 70 to 80% of all divorces. Why is that number so high? Is it because men are terrible husbands? No. It is because the state has made divorce a profitable industry for women. When a man signs a marriage license, he is essentially inviting the government into his bedroom and handing them a loaded gun pointed at his financial future. He is betting half of everything he has ever earned, and everything he will ever earn, that she won't wake up one day and decide she has outgrown him. That is a bet no rational investor would ever take. The moment she files, the man is evicted from his own home, the home he paid for, while she stays there with the children. He is relegated to a studio apartment, sleeping on an air mattress, working overtime to pay alimony and child support to a woman who despises him. And let's talk about the children. This is the ultimate leverage. The family court system is systemically biased against fathers. It operates on the archaic assumption that the mother is the primary caregiver and the father is merely a wallet. Men know that if things go south, they won't just lose their wife. They will lose their access to their legacy. They become weekend visitors. They become Uncle Daddy, who pays for everything but has zero authority. The woman uses the children as pawns to extract maximum resources. We see this every day. Men who are good fathers, stripped of their rights, forced to watch from the sidelines as another man raises their kids, often a man the ex-wife monkey branched to. This spectacle of destruction is public. Young men see their fathers broken. They see their uncles living in poverty after a divorce. They see their coworkers talking about how she took everything. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is observational reality. So when a woman asks, "Why won't men commit?" the answer is simple. We are not suicidal. We have analyzed the risk profile of modern marriage and found it to be a trap. Why would you work hard to build an empire only to let a Trojan horse inside the gates? The concept of no-fault divorce was the nail in the coffin. It effectively means marriage has no binding power. It is a lease agreement with no security of tenure. If she can leave for any reason at any time and take half the resources, then marriage is a sham. It provides no security for the man, only liability. Women claim they want security, but they voted for laws that destroyed the very institution that provided it. They burned the bridge and now stand on the edge wondering why no men are crossing over to save them. The modern man realizes that the only way to win this game is not to play. He keeps his resources. He keeps his freedom. He keeps his peace of mind. And that makes him the villain in their eyes, because they can no longer exploit him. What terrifies society the most is not the angry man, but the indifferent man. The man who has simply shrugged and walked away. This is the stage of the game we are in right now. You see, the establishment relies entirely on male thirst and male need for validation to keep the wheels turning. They need you to be desperate. They need you to work those overtime shifts to buy diamonds, to buy the big house, to pay the taxes that fund the social programs. But when men look at the deal and say, "No thanks," the entire system begins to panic. This is why you see the shaming language ramping up in the media. When a man decides he is happier alone, they call him immature. They call him an incel, even if he is voluntarily opting out. They question his sexuality. They call him fragile. Recognize these words for what they are: shaming tactics. They are the cattle prod used to drive the workhorse back onto the plantation. They cannot fathom that a man can be complete without a woman validating his existence. But men are waking up to a profound truth. Peace is more valuable than validation. The modern man realizes that coming home to a quiet, clean apartment, playing video games, working on his hobbies, or just sleeping in on a Saturday is infinitely superior to coming home to a war zone of nagging, demands, and emotional volatility. We are seeing a massive withdrawal of male ambition. Economists are scratching their heads, wondering why so many working-age men are dropping out of the labor force. It is not because they are lazy. It is because they have lost their why. Historically, a man destroyed his body in the coal mines or the corporate boardroom to provide for a wife and children who loved and respected him. That was the contract. You provide, they appreciate. Now, the expectation is that you provide and you are tolerated at best or despised at worst. Without the reward of a grateful family, the incentive to overwork evaporates. Men are doing the bare minimum to sustain their own simple lifestyles. This is the lie flat movement. Why build a castle if the queen is going to take it and kick you out? The irony is palpable. Women spent 50 years chanting that they don't need a man, that a woman needs a man, like a fish needs a bicycle. Well, congratulations. You got what you wanted. Men listened. We heard you loud and clear. We stepped back to let you be strong and independent. And now that you are standing alone with your degrees, your corporate titles, and your empty apartments, you are furious that we aren't fighting to interrupt your independence. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot dismantle the patriarchy and then complain that there are no patriarchs left to pay for your dinner. This is the era of the monk mode. Men are focusing on self-actualization that has nothing to do with reproductive success. We are hitting the gym for our own health, not to attract women. We are building businesses for our own freedom, not to buy engagement rings. We are traveling, learning, and bonding with other men. The brotherhood is returning because we share the same scars. We share the same realization that the game is rigged. And the most dangerous thing for the gynocentric social order is a group of men who are happy, funded, and completely independent of female approval. That is true power. That is the position of go-to-hell money and go-to-hell psychology. You cannot manipulate a man who doesn't want what you are selling. There is a specific point in time where the power dynamic flips completely. We call this the market correction. For years, women held the leverage simply by existing. But as time marches on, the graph intersects. A man who has spent his 20s and 30s grinding, building his business, staying in shape, and avoiding the trap of early marriage enters his 40s as a king. He has resources. He has status. He has emotional maturity. He is the finished product. Simultaneously, the women who ignored him are entering what is known as the epiphany phase. This is the moment the delusion shatters. They realize that their corporate career does not hug them back at night. They realize that their freedom feels a lot like loneliness. And suddenly, they look around for that reliable guy they friend-zoned 10 years ago. But here is the brutal twist. That guy is not looking for her. Why would a man who has worked for 20 years to build a fortune settle for a partner who is set in her ways, carries the trauma of 10 failed relationships, and can no longer provide a family? He doesn't. He looks at the market with fresh eyes. He realizes that with his new value, he can date younger. He can find a woman who is still cooperative, still optimistic, and actually appreciates him. And this drives the establishment absolutely insane. Notice how angry the media gets when a successful man in his 40s or 50s dates a woman in her 20s. They scream, power imbalance. They call it creepy. They mock guys like Leonardo DiCaprio. Why? Is it because they care about the younger woman? No. It is because that man is breaking the cartel. He is bypassing the inflated prices of the older, demanding women and going directly to a source of higher value and lower friction. By dating younger, high-value men are effectively removing themselves from the supply pool available to post-wall women. It creates a scarcity that terrifies them. They want to force you to buy the depreciated asset. They want to shame you into picking up the tab for a party you weren't invited to. Do not fall for the shaming. It is nothing more than a competitor trying to manipulate the market because they know their product is no longer competitive. This is the ultimate revenge of the disregarded man. Success is the revenge. Peace is the revenge. While they post angry TikToks about where have all the good men gone, the good men are on boats, they are in gyms, they are traveling the world, and they are enjoying the silence. The modern woman chose to destroy the village to build a castle for herself, and now she is shocked that no one wants to visit. We are witnessing a demographic collapse, a birth rate crisis, and a loneliness epidemic, and the finger is constantly pointed at men. They tell us to step up. But step up to what? A burning building? The social contract is broken. And until the laws change, until the culture shifts back to honoring masculinity rather than pathologizing it, the smartest move is to stay single. Do not be fuel for a machine that hates you. Do not sacrifice your life to save a society that ridicules you. Let it burn. Focus on your mission. Focus on your brothers. Focus on your legacy. If a woman wants to be part of your life, she must earn her spot. She must be a value add, not a resource drain. And if you cannot find that, and statistically, it is becoming finding a needle in a haystack, then stand tall in your solitude. It is better to walk alone in the light than to be dragged down into the darkness of a modern toxic relationship. Stay the course. If the water in your local well is poisoned, you do not keep drinking it, hoping you will eventually develop an immunity. You find a new well. This brings us to the most controversial yet rational response to the modern dating crisis, the geographic solution. You know them as the passport brothers. The media paints these men as predators or losers who cannot cut it in the West. That is a lie designed to keep you on the plantation. These are men who have looked at the cost-benefit analysis of the Western dating market and realized the price is artificially inflated. They have realized that in other cultures, the modern software that has corrupted relationships in the West simply has not been installed yet. In many parts of the world, family is still the central unit of society, not the individual career. In these places, femininity is celebrated, not looked down upon as internalized oppression. When a Western man travels to these regions, he experiences culture shock. Not because the buildings are different, but because for the first time in his life, he is treated with genuine respect and gratitude just for being a man. He is not viewed as an oppressor. He is not viewed as a defective woman. He is viewed as a provider and a protector. The women there do not compete with him. They complement him. The reaction from Western women to this exodus is telling. They do not reflect on why men are leaving. They do not ask, "What are we doing wrong?" Instead, they attack. They scream about exploitation. They try to shame men for seeking happiness elsewhere. This is the rage of a monopoly that has suddenly faced competition. For decades, the Western woman had a captive market. You had to date her, or you died alone. Now, with remote work and global connectivity, the market has opened up. And just like in any business, when a superior product is available at a lower emotional cost, the inferior product loses market share. This highlights the fundamental disconnect in value perception. Modern women love to list their resume virtues. They say, I have a degree, I have a condo, I make 6 figures. They shout, I am the table. But listen closely. Men do not care about your degree. We do not care about your corporate title. We do not care about your money. We make our own money. When a woman brings masculine energy, aggression, competitiveness, dominance into a relationship, it is repulsive to a masculine man. We are not looking for a business partner. We are looking for a sanctuary. We want peace. We want softness. We want someone who drops the armor at the door. But the modern woman has forgotten how to be soft. She has spent her entire life fighting in the workplace, fighting on social media, fighting the patriarchy, and she brings that combativeness home. She treats the relationship like a power struggle. She keeps score. She weaponizes silence. And then she wonders why the man checks out. A man will endure a brutal war at work. He will endure physical pain. He will endure hardship, but he will not endure a war in his own living room. If he cannot find peace with you, he will find peace without you. This is why the single rate is skyrocketing. It is a refusal to negotiate with terrorists. The emotional terrorism of the modern relationship. The constant walking on eggshells. The fear of saying the wrong thing. The need to constantly validate an endless void of insecurity is exhausting. Men are tired, bone tired. And when you offer them a life of solitude where they can do whatever they want, whenever they want, with nobody nagging them, that looks like paradise compared to the hell of a toxic marriage. The juice is no longer worth the squeeze. So, where does this leave us? What is the strategic imperative for the awakened man in this hostile environment? The answer is ruthless prioritization of the self. You must adopt a mindset of aggressive self-custody. This means reclaiming your time, your attention, and your resources from the entities that seek to harvest them. The first step is to stop feeding the beast. Stop simping. Stop giving free attention to women on social media. Every like, every comment, every view you give to an Instagram model or a TikTok complainer is a vote for your own irrelevance. You are inflating their ego and validating the very behavior that makes them undateable. Starve them of attention, and you force a correction. Next, you must divorce your sense of self-worth from your relationship status. Society has conditioned you to believe that a man without a woman is a failure. This is a control mechanism. A man without a woman is a free agent. He is a dangerous variable because he cannot be leveraged. When you are no longer desperate for female approval, you become immune to manipulation. You can negotiate from a position of strength because you are willing to walk away. The power in any relationship lies with the person who needs it least. Make that person you. Always. This does not mean you must become a monk forever, unless you choose to. It means you change the terms of engagement. If you choose to date, you do so with strict boundaries. You vet ruthlessly. You look for red flags, entitlement, unresolved trauma, a history of instability, addiction to social media validation, and the moment you see one, you eject. No explanations, no arguments, just exit. You treat your commitment like a fortress. You do not lower the drawbridge for anyone who hasn't proven, over a significant period of time, that they are an asset to your kingdom. And if you never find that person, you win anyway. Because the alternative, settling for a mediocre, draining, high-risk relationship, is a form of slow suicide. The men who stay single are not the losers. They are the survivors. They are the ones who looked at the rigged casino, saw the house taking everyone's money, and decided to keep their chips in their pocket. They are building wealth. They are maintaining their health, and they are keeping their sanity. The future belongs to the men who can stand alone. The system will continue to crumble. The screeching from the other side will get louder as the reality of their choices sets in. Let them scream. It is just noise. You have work to do. You have a life to build. You have a purpose that is higher than being a utility for someone else's comfort. Stay focused, stay stoic, and remember, your silence is your loudest protest. Your absence is your strongest weapon. They didn't appreciate you when you were there? Fine. Now they can appreciate the void you left behind. The game is over. You are free. Now go build something that matters.